back here to Live Now from Fox. I'm your host, Mike Page. Thanks again for joining us, continuing to bring you some of the day's biggest top stories and headlines. Next up, we want to take you out to Colorado. That's where federal authorities have unveiled new charges against a violent Venezuelan gang, Tren de Aragua, also known as TDA. 30 people have been indicted, including several gang members and leaders. So let's go right now out.
Denver 7 investigative reporter Natalie Chuck joining us now in the studio. And Natalie, you were in the room this morning when investigators pulled back the veil on the details surrounding this video finally.
Hey there. Some people feel like without this video going viral, we might not have had as much transparency about what is going on with these investigations. Can you speak to why information has or has not been rolled out in the manner in which it has?
Yeah, I think one is the investigation was unfolding, but I'll talk for me as the chief of police. For me, transparency is going to be one of my primary goals of letting the community know as a whole what we are doing.
Colorado, once known for quiet suburbs and mountain views, has just become the stage for one of the most significant law enforcement crackdowns of the year. Federal agents from ICE and the FBI launched a coordinated operation against the Venezuelan gang known as Tren de Aragua. 30 people indicted, 28 suspects now in custody, 69 firearms seized, including modified weapons capable of automatic fire. This is not just about numbers. It's about where these arrests happened, not hidden in remote border towns, but inside ordinary neighborhoods, apartment complexes in Aurora, places where working families live, children play, and immigrants try to build new lives. So who are Tren de Aragua? Born inside the prisons of Venezuela, they've grown into one of the most violent criminal groups in South America. And now investigators say their reach has extended onto American soil. The shock isn't only the firepower they carried, but the audacity to embed themselves in plain sight. What does this mean for community safety? And how prepared are U.S. authorities for transnational gangs moving into local spaces? Stay with us. And if you want more deep dive reports like this, don't forget to subscribe, share, and follow for updates. It began not with a raid, but with a contract. Late 2024, investigators intercepted a chilling deal. $15,000 for a killing, $5,000 more if the victim's head was delivered. That single lead cracked open a door, and what lay behind it was far larger than a murder plot. For 10 months, federal agents from ICE, FBI, ATF, and DEA went undercover. They traced coded conversations, followed late-night cash drops, and watched as ordinary apartments in Aurora turned into safe houses for an international syndicate. What they uncovered was a pipeline: drugs, guns, and extortion payments flowing from Colorado streets to criminal bosses as far as Colombia. The evidence was stark. Methamphetamine stacked by the pound, cocaine and fentanyl packaged for rapid distribution, even pink cocaine, a synthetic drug aimed at younger users. Alongside the narcotics came firepower, 69 firearms, including rifles modified for automatic bursts, body armor, and tactical gear designed for intimidation. This was not improvised crime, it was infrastructure. On the 30th of July 2025, the quiet surveillance erupted into action. 30 indictments were unsealed. 28 suspects arrested across Colorado. 3 alleged leaders charged, 1 captured inside the U.S., 2 directing operations from abroad. Federal prosecutors called it the most significant strike against Tren de Aragua on American soil. But beyond the arrests lies a harder truth. How could a prison gang born in Venezuela's penitentiaries plant roots in suburban America without notice? For months, they lived among immigrant families, blending into neighborhoods built on trust and hard work. The investigation exposed not only their reach, but the vulnerabilities of communities caught in the crossfire of globalization and organized crime. The operation also showed the painstaking work required: 10 months of wiretaps, coordination between multiple agencies, and cooperation with foreign partners. Yet even as authorities celebrated, questions remain. How many other networks are already embedded in places no one suspects? How resilient are the systems meant to protect ordinary neighborhoods from transnational crime. This was more than a raid. It was a warning. Organized crime is no longer a distant problem at the border. It can arrive quietly, settle in plain sight, and grow until the knock at the door is not a neighbor, but a federal agent. At Ivy Crossing, a sprawling complex of low-rent units, residents say ordinary stairwells turned into checkpoints. Gang lookouts posted with rifles, tenants pressured to hand over cash just to keep living in peace. This was not rumor. Cell phone videos, leaked online in early 2025, show armed men patrolling openly between laundry rooms and parking lots, weapons slung across their shoulders as if they owned the ground. The gang was Tren de Aragua, or TDA, a group born in the collapse of Venezuela's prison system, hardened by years of violence behind bars, and carried into the United States through waves of migration and asylum claims. In Aurora, federal investigators say, TDA did not merely rent apartments, they transformed them into a fortress. Residents describe being forced into silence. Children walking to school pass hallways where rifles leaned against the wall. Mothers avoided eye contact with young men in tactical gear, afraid that a glance might be read as defiance. At first, local leaders hesitated. When the leaked footage spread online, some officials dismissed it as exaggerated or taken out of context. They warned against fueling panic. Yet, the evidence kept mounting. By spring 2025, neighbors reported armed patrols at night and cash collections demanded from immigrant tenants, many of whom had no legal status and feared deportation if they called police. The result was paralysis, families trapped between a violent gang and a system they did not trust. National security experts now warn that Aurora was not an isolated case. According to law enforcement briefings, TDA has established a presence in at least 17 U.S. states, with an estimated 600 members active across the country. From Florida to New Jersey, Texas to Colorado, the pattern repeats. Gangs using migrant corridors to blend into communities, recruiting among the vulnerable, and leveraging fear to entrench their control. The Aurora chapter, investigators say, was simply the most brazen. Why Aurora? Analysts point to demographics and economics. The city is home to large immigrant populations, affordable housing complexes, and overworked local police. For a group like TDA, those conditions created the perfect storm, a community that could be dominated quietly, while political debate at the state and federal level focused more on immigration policy than on gang infiltration. This raises uncomfortable questions for U.S. politics. When video evidence surfaced of rifles carried in broad daylight at Ivy Crossing, why did it take months before decisive action followed? Was it fear of appearing anti-immigrant in a polarized climate? Or was it disbelief that a foreign gang could embed itself so quickly in a Colorado suburb? Whatever the answer, the cost was paid by residents who lived under siege long before federal agents intervened. The case has since become a flashpoint in national debate. Critics argue that political caution delayed recognition of a real threat, while defenders insist that communities should not be stigmatized by the crimes of a few. Yet between these arguments lies the reality of Aurora's families, who endure daily intimidation while elected leaders sparred over talking points. The fall of Ivy Crossing as a fortress has now entered official reports, but the broader challenge remains. TDA's reach across multiple states, its ability to blend into migration flows, and its success in exploiting both fear and political hesitation point to a new kind of security test. If an organization born in foreign prisons can carve out space in American neighborhoods, how prepared are local and national systems to confront what may already be spreading quietly elsewhere? At Ivy Crossing, the numbers tell their own story. Since the raids, emergency calls in the complex have dropped by more than 75%. Parents say children once again play in courtyards without fear. Yet across Aurora, entire blocks remain abandoned, scarred by violence that emptied them out long before federal agents arrived. Beyond Colorado, the impact has rippled further. In Colombia, 2 senior leaders of Tren de Aragua were captured in coordinated operations, proof that this was never a local gang but a transnational enterprise spanning borders and exploiting migration flows. U.S. intelligence now describes TDA as a threat on par with international terrorism, a label that has sparked fierce debate in Washington. Some critics warn such language risks fueling xenophobia, while others argue the real danger lies in America's hesitation to confront the scale of organized crime until it's too late. Aurora is now a case study, a warning that suburban streets are not immune to global networks. The question that lingers: will the United States treat TDA as just another criminal group, or recognize it as a terrorist organization, reshaping the meaning of public safety? Share your thoughts below, join the discussion, and subscribe for the investigations ahead.